Yes, cheats and hurdles. So, I can't believe I'm even saying this. I didn't cheat one time with sugar for this whole 21 days. So in other words, I didn't have one bite of cake or cookie or scone, which is crazy because I own a scone company. Nothing, not one finger in the honey pot. Yeah, I can't believe I just said that. I did cheat a couple times. I had a glass of wine on 2 different occasions. I had corn on the cob on 2 different occasions. And then one occasion I had some white potatoes. That was it, which I thought was pretty good. But what was most interesting to me was when I succumbed to these cheats, or hurdles, I should say. I think it's noteworthy for me to say that during these 21 days, we went through, I won't call it a family tragedy, but a very, very stressful family situation. And also, both my daughters, who are 2 and 5, had their tonsils removed within these 3 weeks, if you can believe that. They both had tonsillectomies for sleep apnea. My 2-year-old had a 2-day hospital stay. And if you can believe it, those extreme stressful situations weren't a problem for me. I won't say that I breezed through them, but I was able to stay on program. Again, even spending the night in the hospital where I packed my food, but you would think that those would be situations that would be really, really hard for me to stay on program. And they actually weren't. And emotional eating really wasn't that big of a deal for me, even in those times of stress. For me, the times that were hard for me to stay on program were actually more of like the celebratory times when I was with other people. So, for example, when we would have people over for dinner, or when we would go to someone's house for dinner, we had the 4th of July during my 21-day sugar detox, and that was actually when I had a glass of wine and some of the corn. Those were the times that were hard for me. Those were the times where I really had a hard time holding back or even just staying on program. And I think it was a combination of me not wanting other people to feel bad. Like I didn't, they would say, well, have a glass of wine. So I'd have a glass of wine. So it was kind of like the social pressure part of it. But also, I discovered when I was happy, I was more apt to sort of make the excuse for myself that it was okay. Like I would more kind of allow myself that when I was in a good mood or happy. So I thought that was so interesting because before this, I really kind of more thought of myself as like an emotional and stress eater. And during this detox, I found that that's actually secondary to me being more of a social kind of celebratory eater. And I think the take home with this is that when you're doing a detox like this, there's kind of nowhere for your eating habits to hide because you're on such a restrictive eating program that you're always having to be vigilant. You're always having to watch what you're eating. And so you notice more when it's hard for you to say no or to not give in. So I just thought that was so interesting. And to be honest, like this whole detox was worth it for me just to figure that out, because now I can kind of go out into the world armed with that knowledge, knowing like, I know that going to this party is going to be kind of one of my trigger situations where I kind of feel pressured and I'm going to feel more obligated to maybe have that glass of wine with somebody or, have that piece of cake. So, yeah, just really, really enlightening for me. So it's just something to think about. Because maybe the situations that you might think are your weaknesses, they might not be. It might be something else. I lost 3.5 pounds, 4 pounds, depending on when I weighed myself during this whole challenge, which pretty cool. I see it more inches wise though. I didn't measure myself, but I definitely feel it more in terms of like how my clothes are fitting than the scale. Scale and I've never gotten along anyway. So I wasn't really so much going off of that. And what else? Would I do it again? Yes, absolutely. I fully plan on doing it again. And that being said, I'm sort of scared to go back to eating how I did, just because I've been feeling so good, and I'm kind of afraid of how that first, I don't know, cupcake or brownie or what have you, or scone might feel at this point if I would just feel sluggish. Oh, I did actually have one bite of sugar during this whole thing. I had to make a batch of strawberry jam for work, and I had to taste the jam. I mean, I had to. And I kind of told myself, I said, well, if there's something that I don't have a choice to eat, like if it has to do with work, I'm not going to count it because that's my job and it's part of my livelihood. So I don't want to count that against me. And I was actually pretty lucky to sail through most of this sugar detox without having to taste sugar anyway. But on this one particular day, I did. I probably had, I'm going to say maybe after all my tastes, a tablespoon of jam. I felt like shit after for like 2 hours. I think it probably took maybe like 20 minutes to a half an hour for me to start feeling the effects. And I didn't really know what it was. I was like, God, all of a sudden, like I just feel tired. And I had a headache and I just felt like shit for like 2 hours. And I just downed a bunch of water. And then I felt okay. Coincidence? I don't know. Up to you. But it happened. So anyway, would I do it again? Yes, I will. Absolutely. And I don't really have big plans to wake up tomorrow and have pancakes and, orange juice. That doesn't even sound appealing to me. To be honest, my cravings for sugar completely went away the second week, which I probably should have mentioned before, but I didn't. So right now, a banana is completely sweet enough for me. And again, like some of Diane's treats that I made were more than satisfying. So I don't even have a desire to eat that stuff. But yeah, there's definitely some trepidation for me anyway, because living without the headaches and feeling bloated has been amazing. So I'm just going to keep going, I guess, until I don't. But this whole process has just really shown me what kind of relationship I've had with sugar. How negatively it affects how I feel. And, there's definitely going to be some, I don't know what the word is. I'm going to have to look at what I do as a profession. I'm a chef and I'm a baker, and it's my job to make those things. Now, does that mean that every chef and baker is, a bad person who's a conduit between this awful thing and other people? Well, no. I think that there's a time and a place for sugar and for sweets and everything, and it should be in moderation. And I, of course, am going to have those things again. I think the take home is it part of your daily life? Are you eating more than you should? Do you have an unhealthy relationship with sugar in terms of you relying on it? Because I know I did. So yeah, I mean, I can take a look at what I do and maybe I'll do a sugar-free scone. I don't know. But yeah, this was more eye-opening, I think, than I ever thought it could be. So I highly recommend it. You can't go wrong. Don't go in with the expectation of perfection because you won't be perfect. Don't give up. If you have a brownie on day 11, then just keep going. And do it. You won't regret it. It'll change. Will change you. It will change you. It's changed me for sure. And that's my recap.